We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. We are talking Tin Pan South this morning with a great panel of guests. Of course, that's the wonderful songwriting festival that's hosted here in Music City, and it's coming up March 29th to the 2nd. It's a fundraiser for basically, what did you say?
The Nashville Songwriters Association.
That's right. And does the Songwriters Association, do they now manage and run the Bluebird Cafe?
We do, yeah.
I remember the owner, didn't they make an agreement or something like this a few years back?
We sure did, yeah. We've owned the Bluebird Cafe since 2008 now.
That's what I thought. Gosh, it was longer than I thought.
Yeah.
I remember doing that show that day when it was announced. I think Bart Herbison was telling me about that.
Absolutely.
And I thought, well, that's cool. And the Bluebird Cafe is going to be very much a part of it. There will be shows throughout.
Yeah, so we have shows at 9 venues throughout the week, 2 shows a night at each venue, a 6 o'clock show and a 9 o'clock show.
Okay.
So we turn the house, completely different shows at 6 and 9 at each venue. Bluebird Cafe is one of our venues. We're also at 3rd and Lindsley, the Listening Room Cafe, all listening type spaces though. No room is bigger than about 350 seats.
You know the TV show Words and Music and stuff like that? I mean, so part of this will not... You'll be there, for instance, and these other songwriters that are with us this morning will be there. You'll get to play and sing your own songs.
Yes.
Okay, and then there is, as I recall, going to some of the events, interaction, maybe where you interact with the audience. You can ask you the question, like, I just love that song. Where did it come from? You can talk about that, right?
Yeah, I mean, these performances are pretty intimate, and we're telling our stories like you would be almost sitting in a living room telling your friends or family about here's why we wrote this song, or here's how we wrote this song.
I think that's such a wonderful part of this event. I'm going to get to the 3 songwriters here in a moment, just about how they get inspired. But I thought maybe they talk about they're lucky enough to live in the creative world of it, but there's a business part of it, and it sure has changed over the last decade for sure.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how much, and they can touch this, the songwriters, but how does that work then? Now, they all say they live in the creative world, but they can't ignore the business side of it. Do they have managers to deal with that, or how would you instruct someone to go the route they're doing?
No, so most professional songwriters are signed to a publisher, and your publisher kind of acts as your business agent, for lack of a better term. They will help facilitate co-writes, they will pitch songs on your behalf, they will give you a budget to do demos of your songs so that you have something to pitch, and you sign with that publisher for a term, and they have an ownership in the songs that you write.
Okay. Okay. And so, but they can handle that, because I guess as a songwriter, like Phil, you don't want to get too bogged down in the business side of it, because it could kill your creative buzz.
That's exactly right. I mean, we're very thankful for our publishers and organizations like NSAI and Jennifer and Bart that work so hard for our rights and all the stuff we don't want to think about. I mean, obviously, we are involved, and it would be ridiculous not to be absorbing what's happening in the music business. So, but you're right. Our job is to write great songs, and it's hard to be inspired when you're overthinking the business aspect. So
yeah, for sure. All right, I just this one of the most fascinating parts of this is how songs come about. It's interesting. Just the other day, I follow the Rolling Stones on Twitter or whatever. All right, and Steve, the other day there was something showing how Keith Richards wrote one of their classics, and it was like on a napkin or something like that. And you've heard the famous story about how he went to bed one night and left his recorder on, and he created, I think, the opening riff for Satisfaction or something along those lines. He didn't even know he recorded it because he was so stoned the night before. So, I mean, you come up with stuff in different ways. Have you ever passed out at night and woke up with the recorder and realized you recorded something you didn't know?
Well, when I moved to town, I had a mentor named Rory Burke, and he said, listen, you can do, there are 2 schools here. You can do the 3 days up all night stoned in Muscle Shoals, or you can do the Disney World, work from 9 to 5, take the kids to Little League practice, and have a normal life. And I chose the Disney World route. So I'm not the pass out type. I have all the respect in the world for the pass out type, but that ain't me.
Yeah, okay. So how do you maybe get started on one of your songs? You guys, one after the other. You go ahead.
Well, I do too. I mean, most of the time my process is twofold. There's ideation, which is this thing, and I just if I get an idea, or like Dallas Frazier said, a songwriter is two giant ears with nothing in between. I hear somebody say, "Trouble knows trouble," and I go, "Trouble knows trouble," and then I take it home and I write until it's hard. I write by myself as long as it's easy. And then when it gets hard, I just have it in my little stockpile on my computer of ideas and lyric pieces and melody pieces. And then when I'm in a co-write or write with an artist, I have kind of an arsenal of ideas and thoughts to bring to the table. And then I listen to other people. You respect your co-writers, so I listen to what they say and how they would approach the idea. So it's twofold.
Yeah, it's a little different. Phil, do you prefer to write alone, or do you like collaborating?
I mean, with my children's stuff, I used to do it all by myself. So to me now, writing alone feels like work. And the thing I love about writing songs is the hang with the people and just the bouncing of ideas between each other is my favorite part of writing songs. And different people take you different places, and it's really quite special to co-write. I mean, I find it just an exciting part of the business, even though you do obviously do what Steve does and write little ideas by yourself, take into things.
Yeah, I imagine someone to bounce it off. So Jen, I mean, the inspiration can come from just about anywhere, I suppose.
Absolutely.
And meaning, as they both said, I mean, they may get a line that they hear somewhere. Just something. It could be something in the drive-through window at McDonald's. And it just catches you. And so you may say it in and record it, you remember it, and then you get back and, I thought that was clever. What can I do with it?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, kind of similar to what Steve was saying. I have the voice memos. Always, if I'm driving in the car, have a thought, or I hear something on the radio, so like somebody say something, and I keep a list of titles. And sometimes I don't know what it's going to mean, if it's going to mean anything. But what I like to do before I go into a co-write is look who I'm working with that day, and come in with several of those ideas to offer up. We may or may not use them, but I like to come in prepared. And sometimes I think of the idea one way. I think, oh, it should go this direction, but then the beauty of co-writing, as Phil was saying, is your co-writer might have a completely different angle on it and make it 10 times better, you know.
That you haven't thought.
Yeah.
And is there which comes first? I mean, I think about Elton John and Bernie Taupin or something like that. One writes the words, one writes the music.
Yeah.
Do you sometimes come up first with a catchy tune, or might you have, I've got this great line, let's put some music to it? Or does it just, whichever comes first?
I think it varies from day to day. I say mostly, I feel like for me and a lot of Nashville, it's idea-based.
Okay.
But we do work with a lot of writers that are producers and producing tracks and working on tracks while we're creating. So some days you go in and one of the writers has a track already started, musical track, and that may inspire. We're like, well, that kind of feels like a driving song, and then we might go that route.
Okay, so it's just however it comes about. It can go. Guys, I'd like to hear from you on that as well. We have to take a quick break. We'll do that again. We'll take a break, be back. More of our conversation on Tin Pan South, and we've got a phone call or two as well, so we'll see what folks want to ask right after this. Stay with us.
This is a Storm 5 weather update.